Hi, my name is Kylie Worcester, and this is my medical terminology final presentation. One of the leading causes of death in America today is medication mix-ups. This includes not only improper labeling of medication, but also improper prescription or communication between doctor and patient. The effects can be minor, such as extra excretion of water or salts in a patient's urine, to something more severe, such as a coma or even death. CBS News recently presented an article examining the effects of when medication can lead to death if mixed up in the wrong hands. What had happened was a pharmacy mixed up hydrochlorothiazide tablets, which are used for dealing with high blood pressure, and they mixed it up with a medication called spironolactone, which deals with effects on potassium levels in a person. Now, when spironolactone is given to the wrong person, it can put the body in a hyperkalemic state, which can lead to fatal results. So how can we fix this? We can fix this in a variety of ways, including being more careful as we're prescribing and translating drugs. So, as a doctor is giving the dosage amount along with the definition of the disease to a patient, they need to be exact, they need to be specific. And in their prescription of the drug, they need to make sure that it is clearly communicated what the dosage needs to be for that patient. Now, it goes into the transcribing process in a pharmacy, which needs to be handled with extreme care. After being transcribed properly, the patient must then again be informed in the pharmacy of the dosage and compensation amount they should be taking day in and day out, so it's safe for each patient. This idea of clear and proper communication was not just made up by me randomly while doing this assignment. It actually comes from the Word of God in the Bible. In Psalms 19:14, the Lord says, "Let the word of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and redeemer." Meaning we need to be diligent in our actions and in our word as we go through this process of helping people in the medical field. In week 2, I got to learn a little bit more about myself and what it means to be an occupational therapist. One trait that I believe will be extremely crucial for me to have as I move into these next stages of choosing what age group and range I'd like to work with in my future as an occupational therapist is my gentle nature. Now, OTs work with people from pediatrics to geriatrics, and it's extremely important that they're able to come along someone in their journey and meet them where they are emotionally, mentally, and physically. Having a gentle nature can make sure that that communication between patient and doctor is not lost, as well as making sure their therapy fits them to their best abilities. In Ephesians 4:2, the Bible clearly states that we should be humble, gentle, patient with others as we are showing them love as we work alongside them. This is perfect for the OT realm and for myself, as I am a strong believer in walking with the Lord in my faith every single day. Being so new and young in the field, it is easy for me to have humility, as I do not know quite what I'm doing just yet and still learning. So I'm extremely humble and love asking questions and learning from people who have been in the field for a long time. Gentleness, as I described before, is something I also strive to be better at every single day. Patience is something I've learned throughout my whole life, as well as in my college years, living with different roommates and dealing with different professors every single day, as well as being really close to my family members, both older and younger. Being a college volleyball player these last 4 years has taught me a lot about what will help me in my career field in the future. I've learned diligence, as it is needed not only in the work environment but also in the learning environment when learning new things. I've learned to have humility along different teammates and coaches, as you never know what you're going to get. I've learned courage, as I need to stand up for myself when I believe in something, and I need to stand up for my patients when they are not strong enough to do so themselves. I've learned integrity, and that I need to stay consistent both in the work environment and at home, as that makes for the best, easiest lifestyle when you are consistent across the board. Lastly, I've learned how to love others even when it is difficult. Being on a team is not always easy, and there's always fights going on between teammates, and sometimes you have to mediate them, sometimes you have to be in them, and it is most important to look at someone and see them through God's eyes, as they are still a child of God and still loved, even if it's difficult at times, as it is difficult to love me as well. The last thing I've learned through college volleyball has been physical strength. Now, this may seem like it may be glanced over in the professional field of occupational therapy. However, OTs have to be on their feet for 12 hours a day sometimes and working with patients on standing up, walking, sitting down, and all other sorts of life tasks that require a great deal of physical strength when coming alongside them and helping them. In week 3, we were given a medical scenario where we were working as nurses on an extremely long and tedious shift. One of our patients required a dosage, and we were supposed to give it to him that night. However, when I did so, I forgot to document it properly, so the morning nurse who came in after my shift also gave him another dosage of the medicine. This led to the patient being in a coma. However, they turned out being fine. This leads to the question of what will I do? Now, we've been taught since we were little not to lie. It even states in the Bible in Colossians 3:9, "Do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its new practices." This is saying to become more like Christ, we must become truth tellers, even when it's difficult, and we must accept the punishment that comes alongside with that. This idea of truth-telling goes far beyond the Bible, as well as psychologists have also studied it. They have found that telling the truth increases intimacy and grows closer social bonds among peers. Now, in this specific situation, the bond of intimacy would be grown between myself, the nurse, and the patient, as well as myself and my bosses and superiors in the hospital setting. While growing in intimacy sounds great, it also leaves me with the ethical dilemma of if I should really do this because my job would absolutely be at stake. Since the patient is going to be fine, I could talk myself out of it and say that it doesn't really matter in the end because he is going to be fine and I will never make that mistake again. However, my mistake would then go unnoticed and no one would know, and I'd have to carry that burden of a lie around with me day in and day out. I also assessed the situation to realize that telling the truth would only bring about pain. This is tough for me, as seeing that he is going to be fine, would it be worth the patient knowing that I had done something to potentially risk his life? However, again, carrying around that lie is no easier either. After carefully considering all routes to take, the guilt would weigh on me way too much to not come clean about what I had done. Now, after further examining this, it just so happens that in my quiet time with the Lord, I read over this verse in 2 Corinthians 8:22 when Paul says to the church of Corinth, "For we are taking pains to do what is right, not only in the eyes of the Lord, but also in the eyes of man." This hit me hard as I had read this medical scenario and said that it would pain me to tell the truth and it would pain the man to hear the truth. However, it is right, and it is right in the eyes of the Lord as well as right in the eyes of man. In week 4, we got to go through an interview process with a medical professional, which I chose to be my sister, who's in her 3rd year of residency at Kansas City University of Medicine and Biochemical Studies. As my sister is shadowing many surgeons and doctors in a hospital setting, she has said that one thing she noticed that is consistent around any scope of the hospital is the importance of medical terminology and knowing the anatomical position, as this is a universal starting point for every single doctor in their communication, both with other doctors and with patients. Errors that she said she found common in the workplace were both medication errors that dealt with wrong medication or wrong dosage. She said ways that we can fix this were to be to double check, have people check you, triple check your own work, as well as asking for help if you're not for certain on something. This means taking the time to do what's right and do it well. It also means asking for help when you're not sure. One thing she said is an amazing resource for her is finding experts in the field that can constantly be watching over her shoulder and checking over her work as she's still learning. One point that she brought up that I found interesting was ways that she could help in the medical field when not doing hands-on work. She said one of the greatest tasks is the busy office work that no one likes doing. By helping others to do that, the medical field and the whole hospital environment is a much smoother working area. As well as patient care, talking to the patient, explaining what's happening to them, and comforting through that process allows the doctors to be more focused on the surgery itself. She also said that finding new ways of preventing diseases rather than treating diseases is always something of concern to the doctors and in the back of their mind whenever they have free time to go over different routes of treatment. This idea of helping others did not come from my sister, however, and we can see it clearly in the Bible. For example, in Galatians 6:2, it states that we are to carry each other's burdens. In this way, you will fulfill the law of the Lord. The Lord did not intend for this life to be led and lived individually. He wanted us to do it as a team. Jesus himself had 12 disciples and was working alongside them to make great miracles happen. Another example given to us by Jesus that my sister said she could so see evident in the workplace and the work environment is that we are always to stay learning. Jesus did not come to this earth being fully human and fully God, intending to know everything. He still spent so much time with the Lord each day, praying for hours upon hours at a time and learning more from the God the Father himself and studying his Bible. This goes along with us in the medical work field, as we are not experts. We do not know everything. We are not God. So working with others, learning constantly can help us become better versions of ourselves so that we can better the workplace environment. In this last week, I got to explore how I'm going to make myself a better asset in the medical organization. My biggest attribute at this point is that I'm still so young and so ambitious to learn all that is out there. Everything I come by becomes this new thing for me to learn and new thing for me to discover as I get to do something new every single day in the work environment. What may come as a daunting or mundane task for a lot of occupational therapists is still so new and exciting to me that I am just jumping at the bit to help them do it or do it on my own. This includes office work, paperwork, and any other work I can help a certified OT do and make their lives a little bit easier. Something else I learned throughout this course that I think will make myself a great attribute is learning the importance of informing the patients as well as the people around them. For example, if working in pediatrics, informing the patient's parents of the care that is properly needed, along with the exercises and mobility they can be doing for their child in the off time when they're not in therapy, is so important and has such a great effect on the child's progress throughout therapy. This eagerness and willingness to learn is one of the greatest things that I think will help me in the medical organization, in the medical field, as I continue to grow in not only my faith, but also my career. This goes along with the Bible's teaching in Proverbs 18:15, when it states, "An intelligent heart acquires knowledge, and an ear of the wise seeks knowledge." This means I'm going to be constantly learning, both spiritually and in my faith, along with in my field of study as I grow and continue in this journey.